Let's answer this question. What is the difference between Power Automate and Logic Apps? They both basically do the same thing, have a lot of the same functionality in them, but there are different reasons why you would choose each one. Now, I will tell you, a lot of programmers and developers will automatically default to creating stacks, full stacks to automate various pieces of the business. I kind of disagree with that model because I think it's so cheap, it's inexpensive. You can just build so quickly using Power Automate and Logic Apps. You can test and get something minimum viable product much faster, in my opinion. So that's why I lean on these two tools in particular. Let me share my screen and we'll get going. Here I have Microsoft Azure up. And if we go to Logic Apps, I'm going to create a Logic app. And over here in Power Automate, I've already got it up so I can create a new flow. Let's call it test flow. And I can tell it what I want to start as a trigger. I'm just going to skip that for now. Now I'm going to go over here. Now, when I'm creating a Logic app, one big thing to note is that you all automatically see that I can assign it to a resource group. So I have a resource group here, created Logic Apps, and I can also create it as a Docker container. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't use that feature. I'm going to go down here and choose consumption. My options change. And I also have the ability to assign it to a region. Well, that's cool as well. And to log and tell it to where I want to log information about this Logic app. I'm just going to call this test Logic app, review and create. And I'm going to over here just say, I'm already ready to create a trigger in Power Automate. So let's create. And now I can, still creating. I can go to resource. And once I'm in my resources, now here are my triggers here. So you see a lot of these triggers, they're going to be the same on both. However, I can give it resource groups over in a region over here in Logic Apps where I can't do that in Power Automate. So somebody might say, well, I'll just always choose Logic Apps over Power Automate. However, Power Automate is very tightly integrated with Power Apps. If you want to create buttons in your Power App that very easily integrate to a flow you're creating, then you're probably going to want to choose Power Automate. It's just going to be an easier experience. Now, you can still create buttons that talk to a Logic app, but it's going to be quite a bit different. It's going to be a different experience. Programmatically, it's also going to be a different experience for the user. So I'm not going to get into how I do that when I need to do it, but I will tell you that the experience is much easier if you're using Power Automate when you're using Power Apps. And Logic Apps allows you to run larger sets of data through the flows. There was a limitation, I'm not sure if it still exists, but there was a limitation to 256 in an array of things that you want it to do. There was a limitation previously in Power Automate. I'm not sure exactly what those limitations are, but I run very large chunks of data through Logic Apps and I don't have any issue. So that's just kind of like high level, some of the differences. You're going to notice that a lot of these triggers are going to be the same. A lot of the functions are going to work the same way. You're going to be able to program those the same way. It's just really revolves around, in my opinion, if you're going to use Power Apps. It also is how free do you want it? Because once you start creating them in Logic Apps, there are going to be some run expenses that are going to be tied to those Logic Apps, but it is also a more enterprise experience. So enterprise, lean toward your Logic Apps. If you know that you're going to be doing Power App, then lean toward the Power Automate, and that should be a pretty good differentiator for you. So hopefully that'll just kind of help you get started there.